noise down because all the babies are asleep. But good evening, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And I've just realised, look at that. It's from the oils I've used on my face. My face is mad shiny, but I just put some serums on, had a nice bath, got my cup of tea, got my blanket, and I just thought I'd get really cozy because this vlog is literally just talking about my oldest daughter, Adrianna, and filling you in on her story, which I've never actually really done with anybody. But I just thought, for me, as well as for you guys, to just have a little chat about her. She's brilliant and I love her so much. But there is a story behind her, and I thought it was important to share with you if I'm going to start vlogging. So I thought I'd go from the top, starting from pregnancy all the way to now. I think that's the best and easiest way to go into it. So basically, with my pregnancy with Adrianna, everything was absolutely fine. I was living with my mum and dad and my brother, and my mum and dad are really healthy. So I was eating healthy, I was drinking a lot of water, I was walking to and from work, which was 20 to 25 minute walk there, and then obviously the same back. And yeah, breeze. I did have sickness from like early pregnancy till about, I'd say about 20, in between 20 and 22 weeks. And then, yeah, after that, it was a breeze. Absolute walk in the park. I was overdue with Adrianna, and it got to about a week overdue, and I started to get strong Braxton Hicks. So I was like, okay, something's happening. This was on the Monday the, let me work it out. It was the 11th of December, 2011. So yeah, strong Braxton Hicks from the afternoon, and to the evening it got stronger and stronger until I thought, right, it's ready, let's just go to the hospital. So my mum took me to the hospital, got checked over, 0 centimetres dilated, and I was like, no way. These are strong contractions, but to be quite honest, they were irregular. So sometimes they were like 15 minutes apart, sometimes they were 5 minutes apart. It's just really like up and down, but they were strong. They were really strong. So they were like the usual, go home, take paracetamol, like whatever. But I went home, and the next day I was like, Mum, I need to go in. I think this is time. They checked me over. I was half a centimetre. The same thing, go home, try and get some rest, take some paracetamol. And the contractions were so strong that I couldn't sleep. So I hadn't slept that night, and I was all over the place. Anyone who knows me knows that I am a bit emotional, so I was all over the place. I was a mess. I just wanted her out. And then the next day, the Wednesday, the same thing. I went in there, 1 centimetre dilated. I'm thinking, nah, this baby ain't coming out. This baby ain't coming out. And I remember that I had a sweep scheduled the next day on the Thursday. So I just thought, let me just try and firms it. Let's just, yeah, hang in there until Thursday and see what's going on. So yeah, the next day, Thursday, went in for a sweep, and she was like, you're 3 centimetres dilated. I was like, thank you, God. So she was like, yeah, anytime you want to go into the hospital now, you can do. So I went home and I thought, let me just hang it in there until I cannot take it anymore, and then go in. So I think it was around 4 o'clock when I was like, yeah, it's time. Went to the hospital. They put me straight on gas and air, because I was literally like shouting in the reception room. Like, honestly, I laugh because anyone that's seen my birth videos, I've got a birth video of Anaya and Amari, literally them two coming out. It's funny because I am like crazy, shouting, screaming. I can't help it. I really thought that I was going to be these women that's like, breathing and really like one with my body. Now I'm complete opposite and I can't help it. With all of them, I just can't help but scream. I really tried, but whatever. So yeah, got me in a room on the gas and air, and they checked me over. I was 4 centimetres, so it's still not really like dilating quick, but nevertheless I'm dilating. It's good. I'm in hospital. Things are going well. I remember it got to about 8 or 9 o'clock, still 4 centimetres. Just stayed at 4 centimetres. I'm like, right, I'm knackered now, you know, like I'm like a zombie. So they just said, look, you haven't slept for a long time. Do you think that you should just take the epidural? Now, I think normally they wouldn't say that, but in my state, they offered that to me and I was like, I'm taking it. There was no way I wasn't going to take it at that point. I was exhausted. And I remember taking it and me literally sleeping from then to the morning. Obviously, what they do is they monitor you every 4 hours. So I remember obviously them checking me and seeing how far I'd gone with dilating. But that's it. I was knockout KO'd and I had a really nice sleep. In the morning, quite early, around 7 o'clock, they checked me and I was fully centimetres, fully dilated. So it was time to push. And I remember pushing and I was so tired, and they made the decision to give me, right, I think this is how you pronounce it, Rontus. It's where you put a suction on the baby's head and they pull as you're pushing to help you get the baby out. But with that, they have to cut you. So yeah, I did have stitches, but they done that and she was born, my first child. And I just remember, the first thing they done, because she pooed in me as well, that's why I was being monitored. I just remember them laying her on me really softly because they didn't want her to breathe, because they have to clear the airway just in case they kind of swallow poo. Obviously that's not good. So they just gently put her on me, and I just remember feeling how warm and how soft she was. It was the most amazing experience ever, and I can remember to this day, and that was 9 years ago. It was amazing, and she was beautiful, and it was a very emotional moment, but it was the most amazing moment of my life. And yeah, that was pretty much my labour. All the checkups when she was baby, they were all fine. Hearing test, fine. Everything was absolutely fine. So they let me go home, and yeah, there was no concerns or worries about Adrianna at all at that time. So baby-wise, brilliant, a dream. She would sleep for 4 hours. And then she would get up for an hour, not really make too much noise. And then she would just cry for basically milk and when she was tired. And she had a very good routine. So I was really blessed with Adrianna as a baby. I think it all started, there was some concerns around the 2-year mark. Now I know with like the 2-year mark, there's certain things that you feel like your child should know, like certain words, to understand certain phrases and certain instructions. As a 2-year-old, you just know where they kind of should be at as well. I had a lot of friends that had babies at the same time as me. So as a mother, I'm comparing my child with other children and thinking, something's not quite right. Now with Adrianna, she was a very sensitive baby, so a lot would make her cry. Men it's funny, men would make her cry. Adrianna wasn't raised with her dad. Her dad hasn't been in the picture at all. I don't really talk about him at all because I don't even like to waste my energy or my breath on him. But she was raised with really good men in her life. So my dad and my brother were always there. But any other man, she just wouldn't want to go near. As well, with crawling, she crawled with one leg cocked up. So if you think that a baby crawling on all fours, she would have like one leg kind of cocked up as she crawled. Which again, you don't think that anything like that's probably normal, but knowing how Adrianna is now, it could have been like a sign. Adrianna was very fussy eater. She still is. She doesn't like wet foods like gravies and sauces. She's very like dry person. She just drinks water, and she has done ever since she was off the breast. Even weaning her off the breast to a bottle, Adrianna never had a bottle. She went from straight to breast to a sippy cup. Never had that, and I've stopped breastfeeding her at 1, which it was a struggle to get off the breast, I'm not gonna lie. Just certain things, I mean, these are all normal things. You're probably thinking, well, that's normal for a child. But there were certain things like the way she talked. She used to mumble a lot. So the best way for me to kind of describe it was like, say if I had an instruction, not even instruction, let's just say that I'm like, oh, Adrianna, there's a cat over there. She'll be like, cat. We don't know what that mumbling is before, but she's obviously trying to say something, but it's just coming out as a mumble. And yeah, at that 2-year mark, the words weren't there, the understanding wasn't there, but there was certain things that she was really good at. She knew like 1 to 10 from a young age. She was very good at drawing from a very, very young age. Quite scarily young to be that good at drawing. But again, her language was really behind. So when it got to 3 years old, she was in nursery, and they weren't really saying that anything was wrong. They were kind of just saying, she's a bit behind, but she might gradually just pick up. Which again, that's fine, you as professionals, I'm gonna just listen to you. But then there's certain people saying to me, I feel that there is something a bit different about Adrianna. So I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, there's certain people saying that there is something different. There's certain people saying, let's wait. I had no idea what's going on with my child, but I just knew that something was different. So my mum was the one who said, I think that Adrianna needs a hearing test because she always goes really close to the TV, and the mumbling could be that she just doesn't hear anything right. And to me, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense, actually. So I went to my GP, and they referred me to the city hospital, and she went in for a hearing test. Now, I remember this day because I went in, and Adrianna, she's such a bubbly soul. She's a beautiful soul. If you meet my daughter, like, I'm going to do more vlogs with her because I want you to understand how much of a unique, beautiful girl she is. But she's very, like, talkative, but obviously mumbling and that. And the woman was like, I don't think anything's really wrong with your child. I was thinking, what do you know? Come on. What do you think I'm here for nothing? But I just thought, I'm not going to, Natalie, keep my mouth shut. And let's just see. So she went in for the hearing test, and turns out that Adrianna was, in her right ear, it was like 90% of her right ear was deaf. So the sound that she could hear was like she was underwater, and that completely makes sense of the mumbling. That's what she can hear. She can just hear mumbling. So with that, they were like, okay, we need grommets, which is something that goes into the ear. So if there's anything in there, like any fluid or anything that's blocking the sound, that would all be kind of flushed out. But that has to be under general anaesthetic. Also, Adrienne had sleep apnea, so she would literally stop breathing in her sleep. And it was very, very scary, like to the point where Adrianna would just have to sleep in my bed because there's no way I'm going to leave her with sleep apnea in her room. So yeah, it was a bit crazy, but they thought with the grommets, also take her tonsils out. So at the age of 3, she had an operation to take her tonsils out and grommets. They were going to do a procedure up her nose, but they realised on the operating table that she didn't need that, which was good. But that was a heartbreaking day. Anyone who has kids, no matter what age, going under general anaesthetic is awful. But with Adrianna, with not having the understanding and the language to communicate with me and let me know how she's feeling, but also not understanding what's going on, it was really heartbreaking. It was an awful day. It was bittersweet though, because obviously I knew whatever they're doing would probably help, but it was just, I can just remember she was frightened, you know. It wasn't even that much in pain. I could just see from her eyes, she was like, what the hell has just happened to me? So we were in there just for the day. So after the operation, we were in there, and I remember leaving the hospital, going in the car, putting on the radio, and Adrianna was like, it was just a normal volume, but she was like, oh mum, can you turn that down please? It's hurting my ears. And I was like, it's working, it's working already. And I remember just smiling to myself like, yes, okay, this is the start of something. So with that, I just thought, let's just see how Adrianna gets on, you know, now that she can hear a little bit clearer and that's sorted out. Let's just see her development now, see if she picks up a lot of vocabulary and things like that. Now, when she started school, in reception, they didn't really do much in terms of what I needed to know was what was wrong with my child. And it was difficult because she was a different child, but I would always fob it off with autism. So I would get some looks, I would get some comments, and I would always be like, yeah, she's autistic. But I didn't know. But again, that's me listening to other people, because there were some people that saying, I think she got autism. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I think she's autistic too. But I needed to know that 100%. I needed to know, okay, this is it. And what I am putting on my daughter is what it is. In terms of saying that she's autistic, like, I don't want to be saying that to people if she's not. So in reception, yeah, they didn't really do much. Obviously, they had things in place like signal cards. So say if it's time to get out a book, they would show Adrianna a book on a card to identify with what needs to be done, which, yeah, it's okay, but again, it's not telling me anything. It's not giving me the information to know how to help her. So year 1 was a game changer, and that was all down to one teacher. Obviously, I'm not going to say that on here, but I really owe him a lot. And I remember the first day of year 1, he came to me and was like, Adrianna, I went to her and I was like, are you okay? And she didn't talk to me. And I was really shocked that he hadn't had some kind of handover about Adrianna. So I stayed behind that day, and I literally just sat down with him and explained to him how Adrianna was, and kind of roughly like what I've been saying to you like her history and things like that. So he was like, okay, right, I'm gonna see what I can do about this, because you need answers to help her. And I'm like, thank God, someone's finally trying to help me, you know. So he spoke to whoever he needed to speak to, and there was meetings, there was assessments, and what I had to do to get a diagnosis, and I think this is with most people, forgive me if I'm wrong, but at the time, for a diagnosis to happen, you need to do like a parenting course, which sounds a bit like a parenting course, don't really need that. But I think why that is because a lot of people were kind of saying, my child's this, my child's got that, my child's got this, and they didn't. They just needed certain steps in place at home to help with their behaviour. So what they do is they say, look, do this parenting class. I think it's for about 10 weeks. You go in once a week. Forgive me, I think it was once a week, yeah. And they give you tips on how to be at home. Then after the 10-week course, you go and you put them things in place at home and see whether that can help your child. Now, I knew that that wasn't the case. I knew that a few tips was not going to help my child. The teachers knew, but anybody who needs a diagnosis for their child with behavioural difficulties needs to go down that route. So I had to do it. Done it. Obviously tried some things at home, but I just knew it was more than that. And yeah, after the 6 weeks, they agreed to assess her and give her a diagnosis, which is something that I've been fighting for years. So that was a really big step for me. We went to the city hospital, she had an assessment. They asked me a lot of questions of how she is, and yeah, that was it, literally. I was just like, is that it? Okay. And it turned out that their diagnosis was a language disorder. Now, I'm still not... Yeah, of course she's got a language disorder, but what's that from? You know, I think there's something in Adrianna'S head that just doesn't click like us. I don't know what it is. But I am pushing at the moment to get a second diagnosis because I'm just not happy with that. I need to know more. So yeah, got a diagnosis for her. There have been things in place to help Adrianna, so she does have a learning support teacher. There have been a lot of meetings to see whether, you know, to put her into a special needs school, which I don't think that she needs. I have nothing against special needs schools. With Adrianna, I think that with somebody there to help her, it would be more beneficial, because Adrianna needs a sense of normality around her. I feel that I want her to be or do anything she wants to do. If she wants to be a vet, I want her to be a vet. If she wants to be a doctor, I want her to be a doctor. With everything that she's gone through, I still want her to achieve what she wants to do. And I just think that leaving her in a mainstream school is really going to push her. I think she really needs to be pushed. So yeah. At the moment, yeah, so in year 4, she wasn't approved funding for school, but now she has been approved. Not too long ago, about 2 weeks ago, she had an assessment at school. I had a meeting with some professionals, and we are now really looking at steps to really help Adrianna in her education and her language and her understanding, because Adrianna's social skills are very behind as well. Adrianna randomly will say things that are not in context with anything. She speaks with an American accent, and I think she's picked that up from TV, but Adrianna kind of goes on routine, so she likes her American programs. It's been installed in her now. She's got an American accent. certain things that has to be in place all the time. She does go on routine, like for instance, she has to have a glass of water before bed. Just certain things she has to do in a particular order. Otherwise, she's just thrown off. So yeah, right now we're just trying to get her the right support in school, and also let me know what to do at home to help get her to where she needs to be. But again, I feel that that's going to be pretty difficult if I don't get the right diagnosis. So that's why I really need to push for this to happen, and I am pushing for it. And you know, Adrianna, it hasn't been easy for her. You know, she has been a little bit bullied in school. She has had the looks, but with Adrianna's happy soul, it doesn't really affect her. And I think that's what's more upsetting, is that she's such a beautiful soul that she doesn't really understand the world like we do. She is in her little fairy tale bubble, and I want to keep her there, to be quite honest, for as long as possible, because the outside world can be cruel, and I'd hate for that to really upset her. And as I said, she is a very sensitive child, but I'll be there every step of the way for her. You know, I have been. And yeah, that is Adrianna'S story, really. Now, I also want to touch on how this affected me as a mother. I think it's very important to talk about this, because I don't think a lot of people do talk about how they have suffered and be realistic with it. So I'm going to be realistic as possible. It hasn't been easy. It hasn't been always joyful. It's been frustrating, it's been emotional, it's been a whirlwind. And I think that when it got to her being 2 or 3 years old, before I even had Adrianna, I had an expectation of what it was like to be a mother. And I always knew that I was going to be a mother from a young age. I always loved babies. I always was very maternal. So I knew that was my calling, to be a mother. I knew it. But in my mind, there was a certain expectation that I had. And with Adrianna's being so behind, you know, when they get to you look forward to having them little cute conversations. But with Adrianna, it wasn't there. I couldn't really talk to her. I couldn't have a conversation with her. I was by myself. It was just me and her. So it got incredibly lonely. And with all these things going on, there wasn't anybody around me that could really relate to what I was going through. So it was like I was kind of like suffering in silence. And around when she was about 3, I started to become close to a group of girls that were like, they enjoyed a party, and I wanted to be involved in that. I wanted to be a part of that. They liked to be out on the weekends. Nothing wrong with that. I wanted to be a part of that. But number 1, I was a single mother. Number 2, I'm the kind of person that I don't want to be a burden on anyone. So I don't want to ask my mum and dad every weekend to have Adrianna. That's my child. So I've chosen to have her. So I don't want to be a burden on anyone. I don't want my child to be a burden. So I just didn't ask. And life is lonely. Life was lonely. But then it's like I couldn't conversate with my child. I couldn't do all the things that all my friends were doing. I have all these things going on with Adrianna, and I started to feel like I wasn't being a good mum to her, because it's like I didn't know how to help her, and with that came frustration with me, sometimes with her, and I just wanted it to be me. I was quite young, you know, I was early 20s, and I wanted to do all the things that my friends are doing, but I couldn't. And mine and Adrianna'S bond around that time started to deteriorate quite a lot, to the point where sometimes I didn't want to be around her. And it really breaks my heart to even think back to me thinking like that, because the love that I have for my child now is like none other. But at that point, I just didn't. I just thought someone else could probably do the job better than me. Someone might know what to do. I don't know what to do. I didn't. So, yeah. But then I know what kind of person I am. I know these thoughts in my head, it's not normal for me. Why can't I bond with my child like that? Why don't I feel like sometimes I'd get frustrated at her, and I wouldn't be able to give her a hug sometimes. And it breaks my heart that I was like that, but I just didn't understand why. And that's what made me go crazy, because it's like, I don't know why I'm not bonding with my child. But then again, I've always wanted to be a mum. Like, how do I help her? But then again, I want to be this young Natalie. I want to go on like girls' holidays. I haven't done that before, you know, and it was like a whirlwind was going on in my mind. I didn't want to tell anyone how I was feeling. I didn't want to discuss it with anybody, and I started to get really depressed, to the point where I knew I needed help. And not just for me and Adrianna, because there's something stopping me from bonding with her, and I need to sort that out quick, ASAP, because I need to be there for my child, and right now I can't, with everything that's going on in my head. So I decided to go to a doctor, and I remember just going there and being like, look, I really need some help. Like, I don't feel normal. This is not normal, the way I'm feeling. It's not like I was suicidal. It's just like I felt useless for her. I knew that these feelings in my head weren't normal. And for someone like me, I just knew that something wasn't right. So, I remember my doctor saying, oh, we can get you some pills. I'm like, I don't need pills. I need to speak to a professional. I need to understand what's going on in my head. I need to sort out my head. I don't want to be anxious anymore. I don't want to feel like this. I need help. So he referred me to a counsellor. Best thing I ever done. Best thing I ever done was to sit there and offload about not just me and Adrianna, but about everything that's played a part in my life to make me feel like this. There's certain things that have happened in my life that I never spoke to nobody about. I've never offloaded to anybody about. I'm quite a private person, and I had never just sat there and just let everything out. And it was so good. It was so needed. And somebody to be like, oh, so that happened. So don't you think that because of that happened, that's why you feel like this? And it's like, light bulb, like, yeah, actually, yeah. So after that, it was a 6-week course. Not to say everything was fine, but I understood myself better. I understood how to understand my emotions and my feelings better and control my feelings. Take that time to breathe and to think and to know that I am a good mother and that child needs me. And whatever's happened in my life to make me a bit cold, that needs to now die now, so I can be a warmth for my child. And it was that that woman, I wish I knew where she lived so I could give her a present, because she was amazing. She was just amazing. And I think my advice to anybody that's kind of going through the same situation as me, or that I was going through with all that I was feeling, is to talk. The biggest thing that I regret is keeping everything in, because I was a ticking time bomb, you know, and the person who got it the most was my mum. You know, she would say one bad thing to me and I was like, boom, psh, mad, and it's not normal. It's not normal for me. So yeah, my advice is believe in your friends, you know. Believe in your friends. There's a lot of good friends in my life that are still there that I know wouldn't have minded me offloading to them. But I didn't, because I thought, oh, they can't relate to me, they wouldn't know. But no, sometimes just talking about things is the best solution. It's like everything just is released, you know. Even now, like, I've never done this, I've never spoken about Adrianna like this to anybody, but it's actually making me feel like I'm just like releasing everything, and I'm like, okay, now everybody kind of knows about Adrianna and her background, and just know about her a little bit better. Also, that's when I met Anaya and Amari's dad. Was very quickly after I had finished the counselling. He was a good distraction, obviously meeting someone after 5 years who never ever questioned Adrianna. He never said to me, oh, what's wrong with Adrianna? Never. It was like, as soon as they met, it was instant, like they had a friendship. And I'd never seen that with Adrianna. I'd never seen a man like that with Adrianna, not even her dad. So with that, I got a lot of respect for him, and that's probably the reason why he became a baby daddy. But they have a good friendship, you know. He's there for me, but again, he was a good distraction from everything, because when I met up with him at the end of the day, it was like everything was just off my mind and it was just me and him. So yeah, counselling and finding a boyfriend, yeah, it was just what I needed, because for him, talking about something completely different, letting my mind wander off to something completely different, was like a breath of fresh air, because I was constantly in that flat with me and Adrianna, and I needed somebody to help me forget about that and remind me of who I was. I'm not just Adrianna's mum, I'm still Natalie Watson, and I'm a bad bitch. But yeah, it has been a whirlwind with me and Adrianna, but as I've said before now, anyone who meets Adrianna just says how much she is just a beautiful soul, and she's unique, and she's so loving. She is so loving. She's so unaware of all the nasty shit in the world, and you know, she's still a believer in everything, the Tooth Fairy, Santa, and this is how sweet she is. The other day, she goes, Mum, Mum. And I said a naughty word, and I said, what is it? What's it begin with? She said, a sir. And I was like thinking, psst. And I did not say shit. I was thinking, I said, Adrianna, say it. She was like, no, I'm not saying that. I said, no, honestly, it's fine. I just want to know what word it is. Just whisper it. She's like, no, Mum. She honestly, no, Mum, I don't want to say it. I said, was it shut up? She went, and that is how sweet she is. That she don't even want to say shut up, because she's just so, honestly, she's just so gorgeous. And it upsets me a little bit that I did feel how I felt about her when she was younger. But to be quite honest, I'm not the only one, you know. I feel that sometimes you think that you're the only person that is going through this, and then you speak to so many other of friends, and they're like, no, like, my kids is going through this, or my kid's going through that. You're like, oh my days, like, I never knew. So again, just talking about what you're going through, you never know who might be going through the same thing. And listen, I'm here for anybody who just wants to talk. I really am, because I think that's so important. I feel like as mothers that especially going through things like this really need to be supportive of one another, and that's something that I didn't really have. It wasn't necessarily any of my friends or family's fault. It's just that I never wanted to let anybody into that world that I was going through. But it's important to let people in, you know, because you and your thoughts will make you go crazy. Sometimes you just need all them thoughts and all them stress of the day to just be released. So let people in that want to help you. Also, I would advise that, listen, you are the child's mother. So nobody knows your child more than you. So don't listen to anybody saying, oh, I think that your child is this, I think that your child is that. No, you know, innit? You know in yourself if your child is different or needs some extra help. You know. So as soon as you think something's not right, talk to your doctor. Don't waste any time, because in between like 2 and 4, they're just such important years that I really wish that I pushed. Also, another thing that I want to really discuss is my birth. Now, I had a 5-day birth. God knows what kind of stress Adrianna was under, going through all them contractions and going through all that stress. I wasn't resting, I wasn't eating properly. God knows what was going on in my body. So I feel that they really should have kind of monitored me, like, through that week, just to see if, you know, she could have not had enough oxygen. We don't know what happened within them days. So I just think if you're going through contractions for more than a couple of days, I think you should kind of push for them to monitor you and see if your child's okay, because I don't know whether that could be a factor of why she's like the way she is. But then again, when I say that, there's nothing wrong with Adrianna. Adrianna is just very unique, and I love her the way she is. She just needs a little bit of extra help in school to get her to where she wants to be, and get her to where, you know, she dreams to be a vet. She wants to be a fashion designer, but with that, she really needs to kind of get on it in school. So, yeah. I'm there, school there, my friends are there, my family there. It's really important to have a good network of people around you, especially when you're going through things like that. You can't have any dickheads around you. you need real support. So you need to focus on your child, yeah? So you can't have any stupid distractions. So it's important that just focus on you and your child. When you see a negative distraction, fuck it off. Because it's not easy having a child with extra needs. You need to be there all the time for them. And yeah, I think I'm just gonna leave it there. I don't want to go round and round in circles, but thank you all for listening. If you've got this far, Adrianna and her story is something that's very close to my heart, and I'm just really glad that now you have all have a better understanding of her, especially when you see her in future vlogs. If you hear something that's kind of out of context, or something that you don't really understand, or something you're like, what's going on there? You kind of know, okay, bit different, and different is okay. So yeah, thank you all for listening. I got through it without crying. It was only one tear. But please like this video, please share it, because I really think that it'll be beneficial to anyone. Again, please give me a message if you ever have any questions. And yeah, all have a lovely evening, take care, and again, thank you for listening.